I just wanted you to see me back here. We tell the truth in recovery. For me to stand on that box and look like I was as tall as Matthew would just not be the truth. So I'll take this and I'll walk around so you can actually see me. It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you, West, for asking me. My name is Paul. I'm an alcoholic. And I am sober by the grace of God and the principles of a program that I will not mention from this stage because we have this little thing about anonymity, but at the front of the book, if you're having problems, it'd be interesting if you're sitting out there and you're having problems and didn't know where to get help. That would be, oh, and there you go. You found somebody that's really in their disease. But the fact is that it gave me my life back. It's a life that I couldn't have imagined. I've known Earl Hightower since I was this high. Earl Hightower was one of the choir of Grateful Hearts that was singing a song that I couldn't understand the words, but I heard the music. I heard the music of recovery. Matthew and I have never met before. This is our first meeting. Now, I know you think that all of us sex symbols hang out together and, you know. I do this a lot. I speak a lot, and I've never really understood it because I don't have a great story. I don't have an exciting drunkalogue. I never came out of a blackout with a Russian arms dealer or never woke up in a hotel room with Norman Mailer and a couple of hookers. You know, it was just, you know. I come out of a blackout in the boys' department of Sears, you know, trying on sweaters, you know. Trapped in a distorted reindeer, he began to realize, you know. Congratulations to the young lady who spoke. That you're my meeting for the day. You are brilliant. God bless you for, you know, for embracing what you have, you know, to we share a spectacular gift. It's the most amazing gift I've ever been given in my life. And I'm 73 years old. I was 49 years old when I got sober. I didn't have the best childhood, but I had the longest. But to imagine and be embracing this lifestyle and to have the clarity as your co-pilot, as you move forward in your life is a classic example of the gift of what drug courts do. And this is not my first experience in drug court. I will tell you that I've had the great joy of speaking a few times in drug court. There's a guy named Judge Glade Roper. Anybody know Glade Roper? You go to Visalia. Now Visalia is not exact. I mean, Visalia is two blocks past any lengths to go to Visalia. You go to Visalia, you go to a drug court graduation, and it's like a professional football game or like a college football game. The town shows up. There are hundreds of people in the audience screaming and yelling because somebody has been given the gift of the chance to put their life back together. And the town is there to scream and yell. People should be screaming and yelling every day as you get in the car to drive to work if you're a drug court professional, as you get in the car to drive to work or get on public transportation or however you get from your home, your bed in the morning, when that alarm clock goes off and you reach over and you slap it. You know, I hope you remember that that when you drive to work that day, you're giving a gift that you will never see the end result of that gift. Because some of the people that lives that you're going to change are going to light up with love of recovery. I am alive and well, and I am, from the time I got sober, I've been screaming about it. And the fact is, the people that light up with recovery will work with other people. Matt talked about that. You know, you work with somebody else, you take this gift. I mean, I was pulling people off of bar stools. I wanted to share this with everybody. I go to Ireland regularly on business. It's amazing. You talk about giving the gift of recovery. It's the headwaters of alcoholism, you know. So many alcoholics, so little time. Not a great place. For me, Ireland can be difficult. People keep grabbing me going, "Where'd you hide the gold, you little bastard?" You know. I love my life today. I mean, 73 years old, and I write a couple songs and sing one of them on an album, and the next thing I know, I'm standing. The first thing that came out of my mouth, and I couldn't help it, is I had to, you know, it's like, you have to remind people that there is hope for the hopeless. You know, our lives are saved in an anonymous program, but I'm a big believer in advocacy. Oh, I have something else I have to mention. Oh my God. Today at 73, I saw an example of elegance and grace. Nadine, oh my God. What you what you shared at that moment, what I experienced at that moment was the true elegance of spirit, the absolute power of forgiveness, because your forgiveness led you to a relevance that will affect millions, eventually millions of lives, because you'll participate in something that changes lives. People will get fired up around that, change lives, pass it forward, pass it forward, pass it forward. Do you know how many times I've shared information with people who went out and I've been doing Earl Hightower's pitch for 206 years. It's just, we take those jewels of the gift that we've been given and we pay it forward. What you do, you will never, ever, ever begin to know the true value of the work you do. If I can say anything to you today, I hope you'll remember this, is that when you go to work and you watch some life change, like this young lady's, you'll never see the work that she does or the people that she works with down the line and all. I did not set out to become an alcoholic. I was raised, to the extent I was raised in a house where alcohol was the reward for a hard day's work. My dad was an alcoholic. My dad died in a car wreck when I was 13 years old. I wish to God that he had found recovery. I wish to God, because he was a sweet and a sentimental man. He used to get me up in the middle of the night to sing Danny Boy. My dad would drink with a guy named Ike McShane. 2 in the morning, they'd both be just lit to the gills, and Dad would get me up and say, sing Danny Boy for Ike McShane. Ike McShane hated me. Last thing Ike McShane wanted was to hear some gnome sing Danny Boy in the middle of the night, My dad, I always tell this story about my dad. My dad took me when I was about 12 years old, maybe a little older. We were living in Lucasville, Ohio, and he took me he was very drunk. Got me up about 4 in the morning. It was still dark out. It was raining horizontal, and he said, I'm going to take you to see a professional baseball game, my son. We're going to see the Cleveland Indians play baseball. And he's driving, looking back at me, and I'm thinking, don't watch me. Watch the road. Watch the road, Dad. I'm 73 years old. I keep saying that because it's a gift. I should have died years ago, driving drunk, just like my dad did, But my dad's driving along, and he says he's going to take me to see the Cleveland Indians play baseball. And I remember thinking that it felt like my concentration was keeping the car on the road. So you begin to get a sense of the damage and the problems, even before the accident. That you begin to, because a little boy sitting in the back there, his dad's driving drunk, and rather than accept the fact that somebody incapable of handling this machine is at the wheel, I begin to think about the fact that I might control the car. I think it's the birthplace of my own grandiosity. Terror, the birthplace, that's an important statement, I think. Our terror, the terrors of an alcoholic created a social dysfunction in the way I began to operate at that early age. Going to see the Cleveland Indians play baseball. My dad incidentally drove to Cincinnati. He drove to the wrong city. He went to a classic alcoholic moment. He drove to the wrong city. He got out of we got to the parking lot. The parking lot's empty, and he's like, well, we're going to get really good seats. I'll take it there, Finally, he gets up and he walks over and he looks at goes to the window where the games are posted, and all he realizes is what he's done. He's driven to the wrong city. And I saw what I call the alcoholic slump. It's just, Jesus, I never get a break. I never get a break. One more time, loaded, messed up, and the way he perceived it, I swear, had to have been, I could never get a break. And he came back and he sat down and he sat next to me in the car, or sat in the seat in front of me. And he looked back and he said, well, my son, there's not going to be a ball game today, but it's the thought that counts. And it was one of the most important things I ever heard in my life, because for 49 years, I was one of the thoughtiest little bastards you ever met in your life. I thought, I can do that. I can be a thoughty guy, but I thought about being an honest guy. I thought about getting the work done on time. I thought about being faithful to my wife. I thought about showing up for my kids. I thought about voting. I didn't do any of those things. When I was 49 years old, I walked into one of those meetings we talk about, and I heard something totally different. It's not about your thoughts. It's not about you. It's not even about your intentions. It's about your actions. It's not about your feelings. It's about your actions. So how do I act today? Much better. I'm relevant today. I'm relevant because I have a message, and the message is spectacular in its absolute truth. And telling the truth is not something that I do easily. I mean, you put drugs and alcohol in my system, and I got sober and found out I'm not really a pilot, you know. I have a message of relevance, that the gift you offer people with the work you do makes a difference in the lives of people that you will never, ever meet. And that my message is that recovery works. You know, I had an Oscar on my piano, I had a star on Hollywood Boulevard, I had a couple Grammys and some Golden Globes and all that stuff. I had all that attention. I had gone from being different, which is difficult, to being special, which is addictive in my case, and it wasn't enough. And I don't know when I crossed the line from use to abuse to addiction, but I did. I think I acted alcoholically before I drank alcoholically, and you know, alcohol, I loved it. I would go into the bar at Shetland Pony and come out a Mustang. I was, you know, you're a stud muffin, Paul. I weighed 187. I weigh 130 now, 131. 187, I looked like one of those inflatable dolls you push over that bounces back up, you know, only with terrible breath, you know. Pat McCormick, the guy that played my daddy in the Smokey and the Bandit movies, used to say, Paulie, when you're drinking and using, your breath would spin the windmills in an old Dutch painting, you know. I love being sober. I love being sober. I have no idea what I was just talking about. I was totally gone out of my head, but I take you right back to the message that it wasn't enough. Wasn't enough. The reason I got sober is because I had left my wife and my kids for a 22-year-old psych major who was brave enough to say to me, you know what, you're an alcoholic and an addict, which is like saying you're from New York, New York. You're an alcoholic and an addict, and I love you too much to watch you die. And for her, I tried to get sober. I went to a place called Schick Shadle where they gave you aversion therapy. They said, we're very worried about you. They give you aversion therapy, make you sick, then give you a shot of sodium pentothal the next day and ask you if you still want to drink. They said, we're worried about you. I said, why? Because you're always early for the sodium pentothal. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I loved it. I loved falling into I loved drinking and using. I loved, alcohol made me feel big enough to deal with the rest of the world. And cocaine made me feel like I could shoot basketball for money. It was just, I mean, it was a confidence builder like I had never experienced before in my life. You know, I looked like a parrot in those days. And I just chopping up the stuff. I didn't want to leave the room because I was afraid I'd miss what I was saying. It was just brilliant. It was just brilliant. And while I was doing this, the career that I had a very successful guy. I was very, very fortunate. In the 70s, I wrote a lot of codependent anthems that people got married to and fell in love to, and it was an amazing gift. It was an amazing gift. It wasn't enough. And the drinking and using outran everything else. It outran the addiction to the attention, me sitting on Johnny's couch again and again and again and again because I loved the attention. The power of my addiction to alcohol and other drugs outran the addiction to being somebody. So I went from Johnny Carson's couch to my bedroom at 3 in the morning, peeking out the Venetian blinds, looking for the tree police because I knew they were out there. Complete paranoia, drug paranoia took me away. Tried to get sober for her, it didn't work. I went to Jamaica, 7 months with not a drink in my system, no alcohol. I had sobriety, not sobriety, I had sobriety. 7 months into this deal, 7 months, hadn't had a drink. Charming to be around, really fun, you know, grinding my teeth, trying to hang on. I was working on a project where I was trying to write a great rock and roll song that was going to bring me back, going to give me the career that I wanted. And I sat there and I stayed up most of the night, and in my little tape recorder, I sang something that I wrote that I knew was going to bring me back to the top of my game. I took my place beside you, girl. It was a killer song. Got about 2 hours sleep, got up, listened to what I'd rewritten the night before, and realized that I had rewritten O Little Town of Bethlehem. And at that moment, a guy in a jacket, white jacket, and out by the pool there with his little thing of ice and a tray of drinks said, "Mr. Williams, would you like something to drink? Perhaps a rum and Coke." And before he even hit the sea of Coke, I was saying, yeah, I was off and running, off and running. I'm Paul Williams. I can handle one rum and Coke. I have ironclad willpower. So 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Rocha Rios, Jamaica, I had one rum and Coke. At 2 o'clock in the morning, I was at Bob Marley's grave explaining reggae to a lot of black people I didn't know. Yeah, lying through my teeth. There's some part of me as an alcoholic that when you put alcohol and other drugs in my system, I connect to a place in myself that doesn't feel like I'm enough. I heard you, the young lady who spoke earlier, I heard you say exactly who I was. You described me when you described yourself. You get that thing, I'm not enough. So you begin to lie and to hide my drugs and to try to get by. I became a chronic and habitual liar. My life finally turned around when in a blackout I called a doctor and I said I needed to get sober on a Friday night. And on a Saturday morning he called and said, "I found a place for you." I said, "For what?" He said, "You called yesterday and said you wanted to get sober." And I went, "Somebody's been using my body again, The fact is, I went to a place called New Beginnings, which was beautifully, it's not there anymore, but it's amazing. It's an amazing place where I learned a new way of living and was given a gift that the only way that I get to keep it is by giving it away. And I became passionate about recovery. You talk about starting the work in juvenile drug court. If I can be of service, I don't want to get out of here without you having my phone number, the gentleman who just spoke. If I can be of service to you in that, I was at the breakfast for the start of the Ride Across Country for All Rise, the sober bikers, for Veterans Drug Court. It is the most amazing thing in the world to wake up in the morning, and I have, like Earl has his great. Earl says, wakes up in the morning, and when he first got sober, he would say, "Whatever." It was instructions from his sponsor, "Whatever," and at the end of the day, he would say, "Enough." I get up in the morning and I say, "Surprise me, God." Surprise me, God. It's a 3-word prayer. It's giving the reins. It implies total trust, So I give the reins to my day. I think trust is probably one of the most important words in my life right now. I have a book coming called Gratitude and Trust, which I wrote with a woman named Tracy Jackson. Gratitude and Trust. The original title was Gratitude and Trust. Recovery is not just for addicts. We changed it to 6 affirmations that could change your life. I hope that I can in some way pass what I have been given on, and it's a huge part of my life and a great honor to be able to stand here and do this with you. I start my day with, "Surprise me, God." I add, "Lead me where you need me," because if I'm someplace where I'm needed, I'm not in the way. And if I'm not in the way, I'm not nervous, I'm not scared. If I'm not in the way, I relax and I listen. If I listen, I learn. If I learn, I probably find something that I can do that is going to make my life better and the lives of people around me better and all. When I met my wife, Mariana, I'm married to a little Swedican. She's Swedish and Mexican. Be very careful which side you approach with which idea, because... But my little Swedican Mariana has, when I met her, had a saying on her mantle, which I loved. It said, "Care deeply, give freely, think kindly, act gently, and be at peace with the world." Say it again. Care deeply, give freely, think kindly, act gently, and be at peace with the world. If I can live my life like that, if I can wake up each day and not go out and try to find something more for Paulie, but try to find something better for the world, I will find something better for Paulie at the same time and all. And if I do that really, really well, I will be just a little more like you. And that tells me I'm doing something right. God bless you. Thank you for the work you're doing. You are warriors of the light.